All right, what we're going to talk about now is an ankle sprain that's become a lot more common, I'll say, in maybe the last 10 years. It's what everybody calls the high ankle sprain. It's one, like I said, you didn't really hear about, 10, 15 years ago, but now all of a sudden it seems like every week you hear about athletes that have high ankle sprains. And really what we're talking about when we talk about a high ankle sprain is an injury that occurs really when the foot is in a position where it gets locked or trapped. You hear all the time guys say, my foot was trapped under there, or I couldn't get my foot out. And what happens is you get in a position where the ankle is locked and can't really bend any further. You've maxed out the natural movement of the ankle joint, and still the situation gets pushed to a point where the ankle is forced to bend farther than naturally is comfortable. I had this experience once where my foot was just like it is now, locked in position, and a guy literally just kind of rolled up on the back of my leg here, and it forced my ankle to continue to bend, again, like I said, further than what's natural. And what happens with the high ankle sprain is actually the fibula and the tibia separate past the point that's normally natural and sprains a little tendon or
it's a ligament.
It's a ligament in there called the syndesmosis, and that's really what happens. It's truly a syndesmosis sprain of that whole joint, which Brian will explain. But it's not your typical ankle sprain. It's one that really only happens when somebody lands or there's excessive force put on the ankle. You're not going to get this really in a non-contact type situation. A lot of times it happens when you get tackled, you get horse collared, you get pulled down this way, and the ankle is forced to bend past the point of what's natural. But Brian's going to explain here really what the deal is with it and good ways to treat it.
Okay, the syndesmosis joint is a joint that combines two bones, and there's usually some type of membrane that comes between the two bones holding them together, and usually has a series of ligaments at the bottom end, the distal end, that actually hold everything together. When those two get separated, the anterior and the posterior ligaments get torn, and the membrane between the two bones gets torn, and it takes a long time to heal. Now, one of the problems with a high ankle sprain is that, as Jimmy said, when you're in a position like this, the ankle doesn't want to move any farther. Well, a very common situation that occurs in every single gait step, every time that we take a step, when we get in this position to push off, right before we push off, those two bones, the distal fibula and tibia, want to separate a little bit. So every single step you take with a high ankle sprain re-tears the ligament. And that's why it takes so long for this to heal. A typical time frame is going to be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And there are a lot of other things from a massage therapy standpoint that can be done to kind of help get this thing done a little bit faster. Okay, now what they'll typically do, I don't know whether they did it with you, but they probably put you in a boot.
Definitely. If
it's a really, really bad high ankle sprain, they'll actually put a plate and screws in and hold the tibia and the fibula together. In a situation where Jimmy was with a boot, it just doesn't allow you to push off, and that kind of allows that the tib-fib anterior and posterior ligaments to heal a little bit.
Yeah, and I personally feel like that's the best route to go with this. This is kind of going to be one of those injuries where if you do sustain this kind of injury, it's not something that you're going to be back after a couple weeks. And so, if you're the average, like I keep calling the weekend warrior, the best thing to do is get in a boot, get that thing locked down, as opposed to the other injuries where we talked about movement was key to it. This one, as Brian explained, the actual movement of that ankle joint or any type of pushing off or flexing is going to continue to irritate and re-tear the membrane. So with this one, you want to lock it down, try to keep it as much, keep it destabilized as much as possible, and that's going to be the way to probably get over this the fastest.
Right. Now, from a therapy and a rehab standpoint, anytime you're in a boot for an extended period of time and you haven't been moving, you're going to get adhesion, you're going to get scar tissue that's going to form around those ligaments. So there's an awful lot of long tendons. All the extensors and the flexors of your ankle and foot are all up in the calf area, lower leg area. So the muscle bellies are up here, long tendons down into the foot, and the anterior tib-fib ligament. As it heals, it will adhere to a lot of these tendons from these muscles that are going down into the foot. So from a therapy standpoint, at some point when they get out of the boot, this is all going to be stuck down here, and it's going to have to be freed up. Each one of these tendons that crosses over that tib-fib ligament is going to have to be freed up. You're going to have the same problem in the back side. The posterior tib-fib ligament is not as often injured, but assuming that it was, you've got the Achilles tendon here, you've got the tendons that come around the medial malleolus, and the tendons that come down around the lateral malleolus that are going to have to be freed up. So you're going to have to work these tendons, you're going to have to work the tendons on the lateral side, you're going to have to free up any adhesion in the Achilles complex, as well as everything in through here. High ankle sprain is a lot tougher to deal with, and there's really no set muscles that I can say that are going to be the ones that you're going to have to work. You're really going to have to be diligent in getting them taken care of the best you can.
But definitely, like we said, destabilize the joint is probably your quickest way to initially try to get over this thing, and probably the best thing to do to get you back in the game the fastest.
Don't be in a hurry.